My best friends asked me if I would ever consider being part of their marriage, not helping with their marriage, not giving advice, actually being in it. I'm 29. They are 30. Their names are Nora and Miles. I met Nora in college. We were not immediately close, but we ended up in the same friend group, and over time she became one of those people I could talk to about almost anything. Miles came into the picture later. At first, he was just her boyfriend, then her fiancé, then her husband, and somehow, without anyone planning it, he became my friend too. That was the part I appreciated most. I did not feel like Nora's single friend being tolerated by her husband. Miles and I had our own friendship. We liked the same movies. We both loved bad trivia games. We could argue for 40 minutes about whether a character was badly written or just misunderstood. Nora used to joke that we were the same annoying person in 2 different bodies. For years, it was normal. The 3 of us got dinner, went hiking, had game nights. Sometimes Nora and I spent time alone. Sometimes Miles and I talked if she was busy. There was never anything inappropriate. At least I did not think there was. The first weird comment happened last winter. We were at their apartment making dinner. Nora was cutting vegetables. Miles was setting the table. I was making fun of both of them because neither of them knew how to season anything without asking me first. Miles laughed and said, "Honestly, you should just move in and feed us." I said, "Sure, but I'm not cleaning." Nora said, "We'll make Miles do that." Everyone laughed. It felt harmless. After that, little jokes kept happening. Their guest room became my room. Their dog started being called our dog. If we went somewhere together, Nora would joke that we looked like a weird little family. I laughed because it felt easier than making everything heavy, and because I honestly thought they were joking. Then, a few months ago, they told me they were opening their marriage. Not in a dramatic way. Nora told me over coffee. She said they had talked about it for a long time and wanted to be honest with the people closest to them. I said I was happy for them if they were both happy. I meant that. Their marriage was not my business. But after that, the energy changed. Not aggressively, just enough that I noticed. Miles complimented me more. Nora asked more personal questions. They started inviting me over on nights that felt less like group hangouts and more like dates nobody had named. Dinner, wine, soft music, them sitting closer to me on the couch than usual. I told myself I was imagining it. Then came the night they finally said it. We had watched a movie at their place. It was late. Nora was curled up on one end of the couch. Miles was sitting in the chair across from us. There had been a strange silence for a few minutes. Then Nora said, "Can we ask you something serious?" I said, "Sure." Miles looked nervous. Nora said, "Have you ever thought about what it would be like if the 3 of us were more than friends?" I laughed, not because it was funny, because my brain did not know what else to do. I said, "What do you mean?" Miles said, "Not just physically, emotionally too." Nora said, "We care about you, a lot." I felt my stomach drop. I said, "You mean like dating both of you?" Nora nodded. Miles said, "We know it sounds sudden, but it doesn't feel sudden to us." That sentence hurt more than I expected, because suddenly I realized they had been thinking about this, while I thought I was just being their friend. I told them no, immediately, not cruelly, not angrily, just no. I said, "I love you both as friends, but I don't want that." Nora said she understood. Miles said they would never pressure me. They both looked embarrassed. The conversation ended there. Technically, they did nothing wrong. That is what makes this hard. They asked. I answered. They accepted it, but something still changed. Because once someone tells you they have been looking at your friendship as a possible doorway into their marriage, you cannot unknow that. For the next 2 weeks, I barely heard from them. No game night invite. No random memes. No coffee plans. At first, I told myself they were giving me space. Then, I saw online that they had hosted a dinner with other friends I used to be invited with. I texted Nora and asked if we were okay. She replied, "Of course, why wouldn't we be?" I said, "Because everything feels different." She said, "We're just trying not to make you uncomfortable." I said, "I didn't ask you to disappear." She did not answer for 6 hours. Then she said, "We're embarrassed, okay?" I understood that, but I was embarrassed too. I was confused too. And somehow I was the only one trying to keep the friendship alive after they changed the rules. A week later, Miles called me. That was unusual. He said he missed talking like normal. I said I did too. For the first 10 minutes, it felt almost normal. Then he said, "I hope you don't think this means we were pretending to be your friends." I said, "I don't know what I think." He got quiet. I said, "You both had time to process your feelings before asking me. I had 30 seconds. He said, "That's fair." Then he said, "But we were honest with you." I said, "Yes, and now I'm being honest back." He asked what that meant. I said, "It means I feel like you two took a friendship that mattered to me and turned it into an audition I never signed up for." He did not like that. He said, "That's not what it was." I said, "Maybe not to you, but I'm the one who found out last." That became the argument. Not yelling, not insults. Just two people realizing they were not talking about the same experience. To him, it was a vulnerable question. To me, it was the moment I realized the safest friendship in my life had hidden expectations inside it. Then Nora texted. She said Miles told her I felt used. She said that was unfair. I said, "I didn't say you used me. I said I feel like the friendship was less clear than I thought." She replied, "We never lied to you." I said, "You joked for months and let me think they were jokes." She said, "You joked back." That stopped me, because she was right. I did. I joked about living there. I joked about being their third wheel forever. I joked about stealing their dog. But to me, jokes between friends are not consent to be approached as a partner. I said, "There is a difference between playing along and being interested." She said, "Then you should have said something sooner." I stared at that message for a long time. Then I replied, "I didn't know there was something to say no to." That was the line that changed everything. She did not reply. After that, our mutual friends started hearing pieces of the story. Not from me at first, from them. I got messages from people saying I should not shame them for being open. One friend said, "They trusted you enough to ask." Another said, "You could have just said no and moved on." I did say no. They were the ones who moved away. The worst comment came from a friend named Dana. She said, "Honestly, it sounds like you enjoyed the attention until it got real." That made me furious, because I was single. They were married. They were the ones who had months to decide what they wanted. But somehow I became the person accused of leading them on because I thought friendship was friendship. So I finally put it plainly in the group chat. I said, I am not judging their marriage. I am judging the fact that my closest friends made me feel like my place in their lives depended on whether I said yes. Nobody answered right away. Then Nora replied privately. She said, that is not true. I said, then why did my place change after I said no? She had no clean answer, just explanations. They were embarrassed. They needed space. They did not know how to act. They were afraid I would hate them. I understood all of that, but understanding something does not erase what it does. Update 1. We met for coffee, just me and Nora. No Miles. She cried. I did not. Not because I was cold, because I was tired. She said she missed me. I said I missed her too. Then she asked if things could go back to normal. I said, not the old normal. She looked hurt. I said, the old normal only worked because I didn't know what was underneath it. She said, so what now? I said, now we rebuild slowly or we don't. Update 2. Miles sent me a long message apologizing. He said they should have been more direct earlier, instead of hiding behind jokes. He said they never meant to make me feel like a project. I appreciated that. I still have not replied. I probably will, just not yet. Update 3. Some friends still think I overreacted. Maybe I did. Maybe they asked respectfully, and I am punishing them for being honest. But I keep coming back to one question. If my answer had been yes, they were ready to change everything. If my answer was no, everything changed anyway. So was this ever really a normal friendship? I do not think asking a question is wrong, but I do think people should understand that some questions cannot be unasked. I care about them. I probably always will, but I am done pretending the only kind response is to make everyone comfortable with the consequences of what they wanted from me. Sometimes a boundary is not a punishment. Sometimes it is just the first honest shape a relationship has had in months.